on this Martin Luther King Jr. Day as we celebrate the legacy of Dr. King. I'd like to bring in ABC News contributor and SiriusXM Radio host Mike Muse. Mike, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Terry, how are you today?
I'm all right. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I just wanted to raise a couple. I wanted to raise a couple of lines that we've dug up from a 1957 speech. I didn't know it, that Dr. King gave. Is known as the "Give Us the Ballot" speech. Obviously, very newsy right now, advocating voting rights for African Americans in the United States. And here are a couple of quotes from that speech. He said, Dr. King said, "Give us the ballot and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights. Give us the ballot and we will no longer plead to the federal government for passage of an anti-lynching law. Give us the ballot and we will fill our legislative halls with men of goodwill." And he goes on in that vein. So all these decades later, after voting rights were originally secured, how does that speech resonate, do you think?
Terry, what's makes this interesting about that speech is that it resonates in such a soul-crushing way that here we are in 2022, and we still haven't realized that dream that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had about give us the vote. Dr. Martin Luther King, he mentioned that he is not made whole, or a person isn't made whole unless they have the right to vote. Because when you have the right to vote, you are in charge of helping shaping the laws that you all must govern by. If you are not able to vote that actually helps shape the laws, then you are being governed without your own choice. You are being held to laws that you had no chance to participate in, and that is oppression at its finest. And here we are where we've made such great strides in society with innovation, technology, community, real estate, but yet we still don't have the basic dignity of man to vote. It is unreal, and I think it brings in today that speech you just mentioned, those quotes, the harsh realities of where we are, and it makes it a very difficult day today. Not a celebration, but a day of difficulty.
A day of difficulty, of challenges, because the right to vote is still being contested in so many serious ways. The filibuster in the United States Senate been used for so long to block civil rights measures, anti-lynching laws, that kind of thing. The filibuster used today to stop these discussions about expanding the right to vote, making it more secure, making it more accessible. It just feels a little bit like maybe we took 2 steps backward and 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. What's going on?
I mean, we can add all the steps, Terry, backwards, but we're definitely on a trajectory of going backwards. And the difficulty with the filibuster, Terry, it doesn't seem like the Democrats have a pathway forward in order to overcome the filibuster. You know, Martin Luther King said something really interesting that I think is very powerful for this, because even within the own Democratic Party, they're having challenges with Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema. Dr. King said in one of his quotes and speeches, and I'm going to paraphrase, but the quote, he said that the challenges and obstacles of the Black American isn't necessarily the white counselor, it isn't the white Ku Klux Klanman, but it's actually white moderates. And it's the white moderates who prefer order over justice. And that's exactly what we're seeing happening right now within the Democratic Party and the moderates within the Democratic Party who choose to continue to be obstructionists of not removing the filibuster, preferring order over justice. And so that is even more troubling as we think about it from this day. As you know, Terry, there are 19 states that have passed over 32 laws that require people to have more difficulties to the poll. And those are Black Americans and other people of color. And so there is a strategic effort to make sure that the dignity of man, with the power to vote, is still being obstructed, to which Dr. King was fighting so valiantly against. And yet here we are today.
And, you know, Mike, here we are today. I'm just thinking about the legacy of Dr. King. I'm old enough to remember Dr. King, certainly the very last years of his life. And he was a contested figure at the time. Not everybody loved Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When he was alive. Obviously, not just the people who were virulently racist, but the country was troubled by how radical he sounded at the time. Now, of course, almost everyone, both political parties, right across the political spectrum, they love Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They're always quote him. But he's kind of been domesticated a little bit, tamed from a very challenging figure, challenging to the core of American society and America's understanding of itself, to almost a kind of reassuring figure. Maybe, do you think we need to get in touch with that radicalism that he stood for once again?
That's such a good point that you mentioned. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, but you're absolutely right. The change is hard, and that is what we know. And it's difficult to create change incrementally by being polite and wanting to follow order, to what she was talking about, to what Cinema and Manchin are standing on. Sometimes it takes those who are willing not to wait their turn. Sometimes it takes those who are willing to go against the system, to go against the grain, to be aggressive in their strategic actions and policies and organizing in order to move the needle forward. Because what we will see that it may be difficult now and it may be challenging in these current times, but history will look back favorably. And Dr. King is a great case study on that history will look back favorably on the actions taken at that time, to say that those actions were needed and those rights were basic and human. And so I think that it is time for us to be comfortable in the uncomfortability and fighting as long and as hard as we can to make sure, Terry, that these our voting rights are secure. These are basic rights. This is a constitutional right. This isn't something we're debating on the margins with taxes or with healthcare or with insurance. This is a basic right and dignity that every human being in America should have that right to. This isn't partisan. This shouldn't be racial. This shouldn't be political. This shouldn't be economics. This is about the basic human decency of our core. And for individuals not to allow that, then we can't rely on order. We have to be willing to do the work hard and uncomfortable to push the needle forward, just as King did.
I love that. Lean into the discomfort and get stuff done. Mike Muse, thanks for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.